An orphaned, lone boy is found and raised by an ice witch. But this witch has to sacrifice herself to save this boy, and it happens that she is killed in front of this boy's eyes in a very grotesque way, and filmed naked in front of all people. Adonis vows to avenge her. Through the power of this angry witch, the blood will flow, and he will seek revenge against mankind, after killing the witch who saved him from his unity. The story begins with the tale of how humanity was born, and shortly after witches were discovered. They possessed immense power, and were told that they would guide and protect the weak humans. The witches agreed and swore to dedicate themselves to aiding humans in the name of friendship. However, in the current era, there is no need for witches anymore. They have been exterminated and killed, and we find this one witch crying bitterly, cursing humans and their actions. She is executed, along with all the other witches on the planet. Then we come across this boy and girl, and he says to her, "Haven't we reached the place yet? This heat is unbearable, and I feel like I'm going to die from it." We learn that the girl's name is Chloe, and she tells him to be quiet because they're currently in a critical situation. He asks her if she can use her magic to at least cool down the weather, to which she responds harshly, "Shut up, you idiot. My magic doesn't work that way. If you keep complaining, I'll leave you here alone." Afterward, he looks at a map, and then takes out his phone, explaining that he has found their location. Chloe screams at him, reminding him not to use those strange devices because they can be used to track them. He reassures her that it's not a strange device. It's a smartphone that he made himself, using dimensional wave radiation magic, so even the military's technology won't be able to locate them. He tells her not to worry, and explains how useful the smartphone is. Chloe, still angry, hits him on the head, and scolds him for being a mischievous child. Then she encourages him to get up, and they start walking together. She tells him that they must continue running because people's attitudes toward witches have changed, and now they live in constant hardship. She explains that she chose to live among humans in their cities, but away from them, more like a ninja than a witch. However, the boy is still sad, and Chloe comforts him, saying that they'll cross the borders and find a place where witches are accepted, where they can live a peaceful and happy life. She advises him to look for a school to attend, and at that time, he can do whatever he wants. Adonis says to Chloe, "Wasn't it supposed to be only when necessary? I don't really care about school. I'd rather continue my studies under your guidance." Chloe responds, "You have a thing for older girls, don't you?" This remark angers Adonis, and Chloe seems surprisingly content with the company of this boy. In his thoughts, Adonis wonders how she can be so carefree, given everything they've been through. He expresses his hatred for their current situation, the Radia Empire, and even suggests using magic to eliminate humans. Suddenly, they notice something approaching. Rapidly, soldiers announce that they have detected a fleeing witch. Adonis prepares to confront them, but Chloe insists that she'll handle it, since her ice magic is not something an ordinary military person can defeat. She attacks the soldiers with her ice spells and a giant ice spear. Later, a man apologizes to his superior, saying, "Forgive me, my lord." But Chloe is a high-ranking witch. Her ice magic is beyond the capabilities of a single military operative, however. Another soldier strikes him and questions his audacity. The man insists they should capture Chloe and let her escape to maintain their usefulness. Chloe, the witch, has defeated all the soldiers by this point and tells Adonis, "Let's go." But Adonis, still frustrated, asks why she won't let him do anything or use magic. He expresses his desire to fight against those cowards and questions the point of studying if she won't allow him to use magic. Chloe responds by saying he's inexperienced in magic and that she's afraid he might lose control. Adonis, feeling overwhelmed, tells her that she's too kind for her own good, and he's afraid he won't be able to protect her anymore. He begins to cry and admits his love for her, to which Chloe embraces him, saying, "I love you too." But suddenly, a very powerful radiation appears around them, and Chloe says they must have completed the long-distance material transfer already, and not even the witches can escape from it. Chloe starts holding onto this boy's hand so he doesn't move away from her. Then they disappear, and it seems like they have teleported instantaneously, and the location of their teleportation is the central square of the capital. In the central square, they find this emperor, and he says to them, "Let me speak to you now, your emperor, or rather, a human being from a distant past. When magic used to protect us, whenever natural disasters struck or plagues descended, we relied on the witches. We expressed our gratitude to them, but we also feared and envied them, given that their power exceeded human understanding, known as magic. But don't you think this is unjust? Are we not weak if we have to bow to the whims of the witches and beseech them for help? Shouldn't we be allowed to live with our dignity?" He continues, "Look at our countless flying ships in the sky, our great city that doesn't fear storms, and our automated trains running through our cities. A new era will open up, and you will have the fruit of our wisdom, the smartphone, in your hands. We are not weak, even without the mysterious and strange magic. We can shape the natural world and control it with our own special powers. So my people, it's time to eradicate the witches and show the world that we are the rulers." After his powerful speech for his assistants, it was a strong speech, and he responds, "The world will undoubtedly take a different direction once the witches are gone." Then we find Chloe, the witch, and the boy standing in front of this crowd of people, and the emperor says, "At last we meet. Oh, which then?" The boy tries to escape. He tells Chloe to run and that he will buy her time to escape. However, the soldiers capture and order him to stop and not make any moves, threatening to kill him if he does. The emperor continues his speech, saying, "So if this human was raised by a witch, what does the world expect?" Then Chloe the witch angrily speaks up, summoning her ice powers and uttering, "Listen, oh, humans, if the well-being of your people matters to you, release my student and leave him be." Now the citizens around her respond, "You are humans, like Adonis, my student. I never intended to fight you. If I harm you, he will have no home to return to. That's why I allowed you to live." Then she begins to attack, but suddenly her ice magic disappears. She's surprised, and at that moment the emperor speaks, "You can't understand the power of knowledge we've gained. The machines around her have nullified her magic." The humans laugh at her, and the emperor continues, "I suspected that one day the humans you once saved would turn against you." The boy tries to activate his magic, but it doesn't work. The emperor orders, "Kill this boy now." When Chloe sees this, she sighs with regret and tells the emperor, "I am to blame. Truly, this boy has nothing to do with it." She kneels in submission and says, "As I said, you should eradicate the witches. But this boy is different. He is human like you, abducted and raised as a servant. He is a poor, miserable human. Please, as an emperor, show mercy and spare this child." She begins to cry and plead with the emperor to spare the boy's life. At the same time, the boy starts writing his incantation and "I'll kill them all now." But nothing happens then. The emperor raises his gun and prepares to shoot Chloe, while the people around her in mockery capture the scene with their cameras. The boy cries while witnessing this. Chloe's final words are, "Thank you for everything." The boy begins to remember when he was a little child and found Chloe sitting alone. He extends his hand to her to save her and says, "I was genuinely happy when I met you. I love you so much." But before she can respond, a gunshot shatters her skull, fired by the ruthless emperor. The soldiers heartlessly finish her off with bullets in front of the horrified crowd. The boy starts reminiscing about his memories with her, how she was his companion, teacher, trainer, and they played and laughed together. But that's not all. The emperor orders her body to be mutilated, her head severed, and he proudly raises it, declaring victory. 10 years later, in the capital of the empire, specifically at the disabled camp, we find these people bound in chains, squabbling over a piece of bread. However, one girl, also an inmate named Ruka, tries to pacify them, saying, "Don't fight. You can have this if you cooperate." But this other girl snatches it from her, and Ruka smiles, despite being robbed. Then the soldiers come, calling her by no 218. But it seems she had exchanged numbers with her friend, as she introduces herself as Dorka. When they ask her to follow, her friends quietly comment that no one has ever returned from this man alive. Daruka is taken to this man, who tells her, "You seem to be in good health. All that's left is for you to undress in front of me." Dorka is shocked by the request, but he explains that they need to inspect her body to ensure she doesn't dishonor the master she will serve. He adds that running this place costs a fortune in blood taxes from the people of the empire, so she will also have to serve the people. Later, Daruka finds herself among other girls who appear to have been tortured. The man reassures her, saying, "Don't worry, you'll get used to it." The man continues speaking, emphasizing how advanced technology and a swift human civilization rise were made possible through the use of scientific and military power to defeat the witches and preserve human dignity. He then grabs the Ruka by the rope, starts recording her, and mentions that she will fetch a good price. He sends her pictures to the headquarters. However, at this moment, the Ruka bites the man's hand and manages to steal his phone. She begins to run, with the soldiers chasing her. She insists on the release of the other girls and starts speaking, but the phone doesn't respond because the central control voice is required to open the doors. However, she mimics the voice of the central director until her imitation is verified, and all the cell doors housing the girls are opened. All the girls are liberated, and they start to escape. The soldiers can't catch all of them. Later, we find Daruka entering a room, but a soldier follows her and starts beating her, throwing her to the ground. The soldiers realize that opening all the cells has put them in a difficult situation. Then, unexpectedly, another cell opens, and a man who was previously bound in chains breaks free with a single move. This episode begins with Adonis breaking free from captivity. When soldiers attempt to capture him again, he kills them all and then heads toward the prisoner Daruka. She pleads with him not to kill her, but he shoots her to set her free without killing her. He then leaves her behind. The scene shifts to someone giving instructions all the workers within the internal camp, informing them that all gates and corridors have been opened from Block 1 to Block 6. Many prisoners attempt to escape, and they are ordered to take immediate countermeasures. The respected director Yamato is seen in the National Security Office building, where he instructs a guard to go to the internal camp for the disabled in Circle 7 to inform them of the situation, and advises him to arm himself with weapons stronger than Class 5. The guard replies that he will the Emperor's peace with his elite strength. Yamato insists on not underestimating the peace built by their emperor, and then she angrily orders him to go quickly. The guard leaves, and we see him walking in the corridor. He removes his cloak, revealing himself as a covert agent from the capital security agency named Oukoku. He puts a mask over his eyes and begins navigating. The scene then shifts to the disabled detention camp, where Bull shouts that the tool storage is open, and all the guards are dead. One of the guards apologizes and informs him that the girl who escaped imitated his voice to bypass the voice authentication system on his phone. Google realizes that this is impossible because his phone is a local secure model. He understands that this is a serious problem and doesn't know what he'll say to the higher-ups. Even if the voice authentication system was breached, his level of authority should not allow the girl to access this room, which contained a long-lasting magic feather of extreme danger SS level. The scene then transitions to Adonis using traditional summoning magic, releasing gunfire, and blowing up a building, deciding that it's time to kill every citizen. The scene then shifts to the detention camp, where the police officer on the phone informs them that they searched the place thoroughly, but found no trace of the girl. She learns that the building has been shelled and decides to come immediately. She then kills Ball and those with him. We see Daruka walking and speaking to herself, expressing regret for her actions and her inability to stop Adonis. Then we see Adonis in a store where the news has been broadcast about a massive explosion resembling a shell hitting a building in the industrial district. While the extent of the damage is unclear, it might be a terrorist attack by neighboring countries. Adonis speaks to himself, imagining Chloe telling him that revenge won't bring her back to life. He managed to escape, so he should enjoy his life instead. People around him notice that he's talking to himself and find him suspicious. Adonis then informs us that 10 years have passed, but he hasn't forgotten Chloe's eyes, voice, and words. He suddenly summons a giant underground creature using Grandy-style summoning magic. It was summoned by Adonis and proceeds to destroy buildings while lifting Adonis in its hands. The scene shifts to the police station, where they are informed about the appearance of the giant monster. The officer doesn't believe it and thinks it's a drug-induced hallucination. However, a car crashes into the building, and the angry driver tells the officer the monster is enormous and like nothing he's ever seen. The officer doesn't believe him either and orders his arrest. But when he looks up behind the giant monster, which is destroying buildings and causing panic, he starts to fear. We then see Adonis vowing revenge against Emperor Giti, and the scene shifts to the National Security Office, where they report the giant monster's presence. Heading towards the National Security Area through Circle 5, Director Yamato, with his deputy Yuki and two guards, declares a state of emergency. He orders them to prioritize Defense Line 4 and request air and ground support from all available aircraft. One guard asks about ground infantry, and the director instructs them to send armored foot soldiers. The scene then returns to the giant monster. As it walks through the city, Director Yamato is surprised by its size. His deputy Yuki tells him that the boy Adonis and the magic feather are missing from the detention camp, so it's likely that the giant creature is powered by magic. The director asks one of the guards about the magic photon suppression device STIM, and the guard mentions it's in an underground storage facility, but he's not sure if a 10-year-old device will work correctly. The director assigns Deputy Yuki to take care of it, emphasizing its national importance. It's not then. We see the giant creature walking through the city, demolishing buildings. A state of emergency is declared, and citizens are instructed to evacuate to a safe location. Tanks from Defense Line 4 arrive and open fire on the giant monster. However, the creature's attacks cause erratic missile trajectories, and no one understands the problem. It becomes clear that Adonis is using the magic feather to manipulate these events. The giant monster delivers a powerful blow to a building, destroying military tanks. It's evident that Adonis hasn't spent the past 10 years in vain, as he has mastered through rigorous research within his mind, creating an optimal environment to understand and convert it into mathematical expressions using a specialized feather. He mastered it without a teacher. Anubis then speaks to himself, stating that if Chloe's death was their ultimate goal, then everyone in the country reaping the benefits is equally guilty. He uses linear style, summoning magic, wielding a massive gun, and killing all the people and civilians. He revels in this bloody scene, but soon begins to cry. The scene then shifts to Akuto, who is on the phone, reporting that he has located Adonis, matching the description of that escaped girl. The scene then moves to the National Security Office, where the director informs all the authorities that the enemy is a long-term prisoner, a sorceress's apprentice named Adonis, and he's in control of the giant creature. War planes are seen in the sky, heading towards the giant creature and launching missiles at it, causing Adonis to fall from the grasp of the giant. The entire area is bombarded. Then we see a young boy next to his deceased mother on the ground, trying to wake her. Suddenly, a massive building is about to fall on the boy, but at that moment, Dorako arrives and saves the young boy. She expresses her regret for what's happening and asks her master to take care of the child and move away from the danger zone, as it's a hazardous area. Dorako goes to confront Adonis, and we see Adonis lying on the ground, his body not in good condition. The scene then shifts to the Imperial Castle, where we see the Emperor lying on his bed, asking about the commotion outside. The Queen reassures him that everything will be fine, as he has always been dedicated to strengthening his empire. The Emperor, however, is troubled and notices blood on his hands. The Queen suggests calling the physician Griffin, but the Emperor insists that it's unnecessary, pondering whether this is divine retribution for his actions against the witches. He reflects on how he built an advanced civilization by eradicating all the witches, believing that progress couldn't occur as long as witches existed. In the next scene, we see Adonis fighting against the army with his magic, destroying aircraft and killing the police. Rain begins to fall, and the Queen informs the Emperor that this rain will wash away the years of his illness and kisses his forehead. The Emperor mentions that this phenomenon opened the path to the massacre. The scene then shifts to the National Security Office, where everyone has been eliminated. An employee informs them that there's a civilian approaching the target. We then see Adonis holding a police officer by the neck and lifting him. The officer reminds Adonis that he should have killed him and the witch 10 years ago. Adonis starts using his magic to kill the officer when suddenly Dorako appears and asks him to stop. Adonis looks at her and realizes that she was in the detention camp. Dorako pleads with him to stop causing harm, as he has already taken many innocent lives. Adonis looks at her with anger and kills the police officer. He then approaches Dorako, and she tells him that not all humans are their enemies, even if they were prisoners. Adonis gets angry with her, grabs her by her clothes, and warns her not to mention Chloe's name ever again. He asks her why she is getting in his way. She explains Chloe didn't agree with such actions. As the army approaches, it seems that these actions are human-made, indicating that the conflict is escalating. The scene continues with Adonis and Daroka. Adonis realizes that witches always fight with cunning, making it impossible for him and Chloe to defeat the humans without using such cheap tricks. Daroka tells him that the name Adonis was given to him by the greatest sorceress in the world, who was fond of her apprentice. Sorceresses are aware of this. A light emanates from Daroka's hand, and Adonis releases her, and she falls to the ground. Adonis questions if she is a sorceress, and when she confirms that she is, Adonis becomes very agitated. He grabs her by the neck and lifts her, warning her not to meddle with him, and not to mention witches, again insulting her as human scum. She tells him that she managed to escape from witch hunters, and that she will bring Chloe back to life. He throws her to the ground, using his magic to kill her, but she pleads with him to listen. She snuck into this country to save him, as they need his memories to resurrect Chloe. A sword appears in Adonis's hand, and he threatens to kill her, and anyone who defies him or speaks ill of Chloe. Daroka agrees to his terms, saying she is happy to have met him. Adonis then remembers Chloe and starts crying. He asks Daroka if she can really bring Chloe back. She asks him to come with her, as he is no longer alone, extending her hand to him. When Adonis reaches out his hand, suddenly a shot is fired at Daroka, and Adonis is surprised. It turns out that Akuto was the one who shot her, and with that, this episode comes to an end. To watch more episodes, please subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell to receive updates on new content. This episode of the anime begins with a large explosion in a burning house, and we see a young girl named Dorica who is frightened. A group of officers is killing people, and then we see Mia hugging her from behind. Daruka asks Mia what happened, and Mia tells her that humans suddenly attacked them and started killing them. Daruka informs her that they were getting along well recently, even going to the city to treat Mr. Tom's illness. She then suggests using magic, but Mia tells her that it's not possible because they use a magic suppressing device. Daruka believes that Ophelia-sama knows something, and Mia advises her to escape and inform Ophelia of what happened. Daruka is afraid to go alone and suggests that they go together. Mia tells her that she is a kind and brave girl and advises her to follow the North Star to reach Ophelia's palace, where she had taken her during the fertility festival. Mia gives her a doll and instructs her to run quickly without letting anyone catch her. Soon she finds herself crossing the mountains and reaching Ophelia. Daruka then takes the doll and runs on her way. We then see a group of human guards surrounding Mia and killing her. Back to reality, we see Daruka on the ground, covered in blood, next to Adonis. She apologizes to him, and Adonis asks her how to bring Chloe back to life. Daruka grabs his clothes and tells him that the witches, but she doesn't finish her sentence. The humans set her on fire and kill her, and Adonis quickly moves away from her. We then see Adonis surrounded by many armed guards, pointing their weapons at him. He looks at Chloe and says, "Don't toy with me, witch, how can I bring Chloe back from the dead? This is not enough. I don't know what to do." He hits the ground with his hand, and the guards prepare to shoot. They inform Akuto that the witch is dead. We see Akuto telling the director, Yamato, that it's over. Adonis uses a magical feather to create a shield around him, and the shield protects him from the bullets. He then uses a spell called Queens to gather all the bullets the guards shot at him and redirects them to hit all the guards, killing them. Akuto directs his weapon from the top of the building towards Adonis and fires at him, but Adonis emerges unharmed. He used a linear magic spell called Maximum Gain to enlarge the bullet and turn it into a large missile, which he directed at Akuto, killing him and causing the building to explode. We then see Adonis walking among the dead guards, asking them if they thought they could defeat him, if they thought they could defeat magic, and if they thought they could live in peace after killing Chloe. He then approaches one of the guards and tells him that he will erase them from the face of the planet. Yamato sees this from the cameras and wishes that his sister Yuki would hurry to act with him. Then we see Yuki standing in front of the die machine, which is the jewel of knowledge for them, as it had defeated the witches in the past. Once it is activated, they will be able to suppress Adonis's magic, and she is very excited at this moment because she will be of great help to her brother. She reminisces about when he used to tutor her when she was younger and how he stayed by her side until she reached this level. However, at this time, her subordinates scream at her to hurry and go catch Adonis. But at this moment, members of one of the 4 national bureaus affiliated with the Empire of Radia appear. The director of the National Science Agency, Shida Samantha, speaks to Yuki and informs her that she knows the National Security Bureau has become agitated and will definitely come here. She tells Yuki that she has become stronger since the last time she saw her, and unfortunately, she will not be able to activate that machine. Yuki asks her what she means, and Shada looks at her for a moment, then takes her phone and calls her brother Yamato. Yamato answers and asks why she hasn't activated the device yet, but Shada tells him that she should listen to her. Yamato realizes that he needs to speak to Director Shida, but he doesn't want to talk to her at this moment because it's not the right time. They are now in a race against time. Shida asks him not to be tense, as there is no need for that. She then tells him that he cannot activate the magic photon suppression device because science is a human creation that sheds light on the world. However, they have not fully understood some aspects, such as the emitted molecule through the magic photon suppression device. Yamato doesn't understand what she means, so she explains to him about the human cellular degeneration disease, which is the disease the soldiers who participated in the witch hunting operation 10 years ago suffered from. But he doesn't see the connection to the current situation, so she informs him that they cannot be sure due to the numerous factors, but they believe that these molecules have had an impact on the human body. This device kills cells, and in the current situation, with the human body exposed to a massive amount of molecules, it will be completely destroyed. Yamato is taken aback by this information and tells her that this is new to him. Shida explains that they have hidden this information from anyone, but unfortunately, there are no more witches left to restore the natural environment. The air that was supposed to purify these harmful rays is now gone, and nature has lost its vitality. In the current situation, with the human body exposed to a huge amount of molecules, it will be completely destroyed. Yamato finds it hard to believe this, and Shida continues, saying that he surely knows what happened to those who fought for humanity and stood against this device. Yamato then tells her that their king has fallen seriously ill. Then we transition to Adonis, where all of Yamato's men are attempting to shoot him with rifles, but he uses his power to create an impenetrable barrier, deflecting the bullet towards the officers, effectively killing them all. We return to Yuki, and she is told by Shida that she must leave now. Yuki, however, doesn't hear Shida's words and thinks to herself that they can't be worried about diseases when they are threatened by magic. She remembers her brother's words when he said he'd leave. This matter to her, it's of national importance. Shida then becomes frustrated and asks the units to withdraw quickly, running after Yuki and telling her not to use the device, as even a brief exposure to it leads to dire consequences. Yuki ignores her and activates the device, explaining that it's a matter of national importance. Suddenly, a voice shouts, and Andreas is surprised as his feather drops. Yuki's brother, however, asks her if she did something, and Shida yells at her to look ahead. She informs Yuki that this is an opponent they cannot defeat without suppressing magic. They have to face all these troubles with a boy like this. Yuki's brother reassures her that he will kill anyone who harms the Empire. Then Yuki's brother instructs the units to advance and attack, and they go after Andreas. The girl approaches him and points her weapon at him, asking how he dares to harm their country. Her friend warns her to stay away because he will kill her, but she charges at Andreas. The thermal blade is activated, and she attacks, ultimately him finally. The girl exits the scene with Andreas's head in hand, saying, "I did it." Everyone rejoices in what she has accomplished. Afterward, Yamato speaks, saying, "Well done, all of you. You have defeated the sorcerer's apprentice. But don't celebrate. Bring his body and assess the damage in every area of the city. Continue communicating with the rescue teams and help the victims." Then we move to Yuki's brother, looking at the girl on the screen, saying, "This is the one who killed him. She's young. I think she's a new recruit, part of the armored infantry soldiers." He instructs the soldier to go and check on the director and his sister. Then he reflects on the strength of their nation, thinking to himself, "You're right, Shida. We are a powerful nation." Then they continue to transport the wounded, and the ruler of this kingdom tells them, "We have survived the sorcery, those violent, mysterious arts that still persist in this world. The boy we forcibly took from the clutches of the witch 10 years ago has unleashed his anger upon the world. It is the worst possible outcome, a catastrophe for a long-imprisoned sorcerer's apprentice Adonis. Despite being a human like us, he is the remnant of the ancient, dreadful world that the magic corrupted. Even after 10 years, we have failed to understand how he harnessed magic as a human. Looking back, all I can feel is anger for allowing him to live. But fear not, my people. This is Radia, the pinnacle of the world where the power of science we have gained and our unwavering determination will not succumb to evil. Let us uphold our pride and let the sense our kindle in our hearts rejoice. For you were born in the Empire of Radia, the ancient world long gone by." Then the scene transitions to a teacher in the classroom addressing the students. He says, "Several of our students have passed away, and I know things have not been easy. However, the national practice exams will begin tomorrow to help us overcome this situation." After that, the teacher ends the planning session with the students. One student asks, why did the sorcerer's apprentice stand among the witches even though he is human? The teacher replies, "I don't know what happened. Perhaps his mind was manipulated or something of the sort." The teacher then checks his watch and informs the student that the first period will be physical education. They quickly change into their sports attire. During this time, we see a girl named Iri resting her head on the table. Another girl with black hair approaches her and says, "I saw what you did." Iri responds, "What's your problem? You're incredibly annoying." It's a typical reaction to the situation. The other girl calls Ira's friends over and then